Are you okay with having ADHD? Well, I haven't really got a choice, mate. No, I'm alright. Yeah, I'm alright. Yeah, I got this. What's up, muggles? How's it going? It's Sophie. I'm back with another video. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support on my latest video. If you didn't know, I did a 20-minute video all about my diagnosis of ADHD and the journey, and just like a whole like proper video that I've been working on for months and just filming for months, talking about like the kind of the darker sides of ADHD, getting diagnosed, what it was like for me personally. And I was so scared about posting it. Like, I was worried that people might think it's like a pity party. It was obviously very cinematic and stuff because it's a YouTube video, so I want to make it look good. But the feedback and support has been insane. Like, the comments on the video were amazing. I've actually had friends and family reach out to me that I haven't heard from for ages, saying about it. Some people have cried to it. It hit some emotions for people, which is kind of good. Obviously not good that you're crying, but it's good that, like, you know, my editing and my way of speaking, it came across to make it emotional, because it was an emotional video for me. But anyway, today's video is going to be a Q&A all about my ADHD and answering some questions from that video. Just a further extension video Q&A to my last video all about my ADHD, so an ADHD Q&A as such. A lot of the questions I got asked was similar to this one, and it was basically, what meds are you on? I had a lot of questions about medication, if I'm on it, what have I previously taken and stuff. And to be honest, because it's the YouTube video and because it's so different from person to person, I don't really want to answer it, because obviously it changes a lot and this sort of video stays the same, and I don't want to influence people. Like, someone be like, oh, Bakey's on that, I should try that, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very, I feel like I should not answer that question, especially when, you know, you got to try out different variations and different kinds and stuff, because it works different for different people. But right now I can say that I'm actually on no medication at the moment. I have tried some previously. I am thinking about trying some like non-stimulant ones, but yeah, I'm sorry I can't really go any further into that. It's just because this YouTube video is like a fixated in time thing, and someone could watch this from a year from now. I'm not really sure if I have ADHD or autism. Do you know if there's a way to tell the difference so I can be sure on which one I have? The best thing would be go to obviously a GP or a doctor, or someone who can actually tell you the differences. I know that you can go on Google and see the differences, but a lot of I can never say that. A lot of neurodivergencies, is that the right wording? Neurodivergence. A lot of them overlap, like the autism to the OCD to the ADHD, similar to when it's like, is it anxiety, is it depression, is it ADHD? Like, a lot of things overlap, and it can be very confusing. But the reason I knew I had ADHD was because obviously when I was talking to my doctor, like, they even said, like, I don't think you're outright depressed at all. It's that the ADHD could cause the depression, because obviously people, or like, you can't do things, so then you get sad, or people are looking at you different and then you get sad. Like, those can all stem from different things. Or you have the anxiety because you've done something stupid because you're ADHD, like, you know what I mean? So it's very hard because they all do overlap and stuff. But I guess the best point would be going to see someone, speaking to a professional, and research as well. Like, I did so much research by myself, like endless YouTube videos from like actual people that understand it, like going on forums, speaking to other people. I wanted to get answers, so I went out and got answers. Do you listen to the same song over and over when you find a song you like until you over listen to it? Always an issue with me. Yes, this is a huge one for me. I know this can be like, people can do this just normally anyway, but for me that is like to the extreme. Like, I remember my brother getting so annoyed at me because I found the Justin Bieber song Lonely, and on the day of release I played it, no over exaggeration, like 60 times out my speakers and knew every word, and I just actually got sick of it towards the end. But if I find a song, that day is consumed by it on repeat on repeat. Obsession and me and my ADHD is the worst. Like, with song, people, things, yeah, gives that little itch on the brain. I'm in the process of getting diagnosed, and currently the hardest thing for me is initiating and switching between tasks, especially when trying to go to sleep, when I have to stop doing things. Any strategies to make it easier would be appreciated. Going to bed is the worst. For me, I'm a night owl. Like, I tend to not do much during the day, and then suddenly at midnight I get so much motivation, and yeah, that is very hard to switch off. And a big thing for me that makes me do stuff is rewarding myself. Like, if I have a reason to do something because I get a reward from it, then that does help me a lot with initiating tasks. I tend to always go by the rule of 3 and just do 3 things a day, and if I have some time later and I'm still up for doing another thing, make it 4, but a limited amount of 3. And having like a sheet where you can physically tick it off is wonderful. And with ADHD, some days you'll do 10 things in a day, like I'll clean my room and then I'll go and film a video. Like, you're gonna have those days, and you're also gonna have those days where you do absolutely nothing, and you're gonna have those days where you sit in your bed and your brain's going blah blah blah, but you can't do anything, and that's okay. Like, you know that there's gonna be one of those days around the corner where you just go crazy, and you have those days where you just don't do anything. Also, a massive tip is telling other people what you need to do in your day, because it sort of holds you accountable. Like, there's so many times I've told my friends, like, I need to do this today, and if they ask me later, like, did you do it? I'll feel so bad if I didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, if they know about it, I'll be like, do you know what? I'm gonna do that, and then I can go and tell them that I did it because I told them in the morning. Like, if someone else knows what you want to do with your day, then it's just a bit nicer because you know someone's holding you accountable. If it's just me who knows about doing a task, I'll be like, I'm only letting myself down. I know your friends aren't actually gonna be let down if you don't do something that's gonna benefit yourself, but it's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's the hard words of saying to someone that you didn't do it. You don't want people to be disappointed in you. If they're true friends, they would actually be disappointed. When you was at school, was there ever a subject or a project that you did that you actually found interesting enough that you were able to maintain your focus on it? Or did it not matter at all, and was the way the school teaching's topics not compatible with how your brain worked, even when you actually thought that topic at hand was interesting? Now, that's a very good question. Obviously, like, school and ADHD is like a big thing. Obviously, the subjects that were practical, like sports and arts, I was all over, fully focused. But like, obviously when art became like you had to write about anything, that was like a note because I didn't find it interested. So any practicals or things that I found interesting was good enough. But unfortunately, when it came to like maths and English, I struggled so much on focusing. Like, if I'm not interested in something, it is pretty much impossible. Did you know about ADHD before this, and did you ever question if you had it when you was younger? I think it's interesting because I've been diagnosed since I was 6. It's just 6 years between us. No, I had no idea. Like, when I was younger, not a clue. Just thought I was just like a hyperactive, like sporty tomboy. Like, that was me. Never really heard of the word ADHD. I think like nowadays it's like much more out there and people have heard of it, but I don't think it was even mentioned at school, like, by anyone, or anybody had it. Like what, I'm 25 now. Like, when I was at primary school, that was 20 years ago. Like, no one, like, it wasn't a thing as much back then. Maybe like towards the end of secondary school, like when I was like 15, people like said it as a joke, like, oh, you have ADHD. Like, it sort of was just the way that people just chuck around a word. It's like saying, oh, you're so OCD about this, you know what I mean? Like, it sort of was that sort of thing. Like, sort of, it was just when someone was hyper, they would say, oh, you have ADHD. Actually, I want to make a point about that, because in my video last time I said, like, it's quite sickening seeing the trend of ADHD on TikTok, and that's more to the people that make it like a comedy. Like, obviously, like, you can do that, you know what I mean? Like, I fight things with comedy all the time, but it was to the point of like it just being like, everyone's got it and it's quirky. That was my sort of thing. But also, to it being like popular on TikTok also allowed people that do have it to actually be like, okay, maybe there's answers, because it was on my freaking TikTok all the time. I was there like, okay. I work with students with ADHD. In your perspective as an adult that can reflect back on your school years, what could your teachers have done to help you? I give my kids movement breaks, for example. I do remember way back there was an incident when I was at school, and instead of trying to make me go back in a classroom, there was this really like teacher that I respected, and they just gave me a basketball and was just like, you know what, go get some exercise and go and shoot some hoops, which I will never forget, because it was really good, because I was getting worked up and like, it was just, they just understood. I guess now looking back on school now, I wouldn't really know, because I did act out quite a fair bit, and I do kind of hate my younger self for that, because, you know, these are teachers. Like, I've got teachers in my family now, and I'm like, oh, I must have been so freaking annoying, and I hate my younger self for it. Like, I was never rude or horrible or like that sort of student. I was always just too chatty, like, you know, like that sort. But I must have been so irritating and wasted so much time. Like, I would just run around the corridor and think it was funny, whereas like these teachers aren't getting paid for that. Like, I hate my younger self at school sometimes. But then again, I had teachers that were vile to me, which still to this day, like, as an adult now, I think, how on earth were you a teacher? Like, you hate kids. And then I had some teachers that I absolutely adored, and Like, so I guess there is a choice when it comes to it. I remember one thing, okay, this is kind of like a little story time. I remember I was obsessed with history, like I loved it so much, and it was an instant with a teacher that just hated me for no reason. Like, even my mum would back me up on it and be like, why are you a teacher? Like, you hate kids, like clearly like you just have this vendetta. And literally I was so excited about going to history, and I walked up to the door starting a new year at history, like so excited, and he just said, no, you're sitting out here and you're staring at a wall. And I was just so upset. He just like had a rant at me, said I can't like trust you in my classroom, you're gonna distract everyone else, you're gonna, and like fair enough, like I understand, but you didn't even give me a chance. Like, people just didn't give me a chance. And there were some lessons that I would have, like, if I'm interested, I'm gonna sit there and listen, and like, you know, it really upset me a lot, and like it made me hate history after that, which is horrible. But yeah, to go back to your questions, if like what they could have done to help me, I guess it's hard to help someone when you think they're just acting out. And there's a lot of kids, you know, like the thing is they just whack you on report, and then that's their way of monitoring you, and they think that's good enough. But I don't look back in anger. Oh, bit of oasis there. I guess they did best with the situation. Like, if they're a good teacher, they saw the things that interested me and they worked on those things. I don't really know about like special treatment or anything, because a lot of the time I feel like, you know, I probably as a kid I would have taken advantage to that. I would have been like, oh, you need to move around, when technically I didn't. So I feel like you should still be like strict and stuff. But I guess it's just your teaching styles and stuff would be the difference, because I had teachers that sort of saw the things that interested me and worked on that and approached me differently, and other teachers that just couldn't be bothered with that. So school is school at the end of the day. You're there to learn, and there's no way of getting around a classroom, there's no way of getting around an exam. Like, you're gonna have to sit there, you're gonna have to do your work. And it's so hard when you have big classes and you have some students which are fine and other ones that take up all your time, and when they're young kids they're gonna be like, wait, why do they get to have a break and stuff? Like, it's gonna be a lot of hassle and what. I don't really know. I don't know, to answer your question too much, but the fact that you're helping your students is incredible, and they will remember you in the future for meeting their needs. Like, I remember that one teacher 10 years ago that let me like actually take a basketball and stuff because I just needed a vent, and the ones that actually understood and talked to me on my level like a human being. Hi Sophie, just want to ask if you're trying to fight against ADHD, also sending tons of love. Thank you. No, I'm not trying to fight it. Now that I've got diagnosed, I feel so much better. It's part of me, it's the way it is, and now I've just got to work on it, and I know things, I'll be like, haha, that's my ADHD, that is. So that's kind of nice being able to do that. It helps me so much, like when I'm like having like an emotional time, I'm like, okay, this is not me, this is my ADHD. Like, hopefully I don't ever use it as like an excuse, but I do use it in myself as like a reason, if that makes sense. But no, not trying to fight it, and if anything, like I'm getting to the point of where I'm quite proud of it, in a way. Like I was doing impulsive things the other day, which I actually needed to be impulsive with. Like, I love that I can be creative with it and be like, actually, do you know what, I'm not gonna think about it, I'm just gonna go and do that. And I ended up doing it and it was amazing. Like, there are so many different ways of good sides of it and obsession sides of it, and like, yeah, it's so much easier. Like, I'm not fighting it, I'm not like, don't be an idiot, don't do this, and like, before I was like, just be normal, and now I'm like, actually, it's alright. Will you remember to film it? Coming from a person also with ADHD, I have been sitting on this video for like 2 weeks now, and I've just never had the kick to do it. I always, you need that kick to initiate it, but yeah, I'm filming it now. Do you have a favourite stim toy form of stimming? I think my friends will definitely say it's my vocal singing. I have lyrics of songs that get stuck in my head, and whenever it's quiet or whenever I'm thinking or I'm in a space where I can't move but I can make a noise, I just do like a line of a song. My biggest one was like, some of my one-liners have been like, cut my life into pieces, and other ones like, if I could write you a song to make you fall in love, and isn't she lovely? And like, those were like the 3 songs I always went to whenever there was like a quiet moment. Yeah, those are the ones that annoyed my friends after a while. Yeah, I think a lot of my stimming is vocally. I do have the leg one as well sometimes, you know, just like the bouncing leg. This is more like my friends notice it, because obviously I don't notice it at all. Also, I don't know if it is counted as a stim, but there's a reason why my thumb is the state of it is. Whenever I'm concentrating, I am biting on my thumb like it's a tree trunk. Not that I bite on tree trunks, just like I bite on it like no tomorrow. Like if I'm editing, my thumb comes out looking ridiculous. Like chewing gum is a huge saver for me. Like I get through so much chewing gum in a day. I don't really have a go-to toy. Like I've brought so many fidget toys, but I never really use them enough. Like I'd rather just use something on the table, like a pen or something. I don't really plan to fidget, it just happens. Are you okay with having ADHD? Well, I haven't really got a choice, mate. No, I'm alright. Yeah, alright. I got this. Did you get any relief when you got diagnosed? The biggest relief you could imagine. I was an emotional wreck. I was crying because I was just sort of happy to have answers. Like, it's just nice, you know, and there's reasons and answers, and it makes sense and it's settling. How is life now with the diagnosis versus before? Do you find you're struggling less? I do definitely find that I'm struggling less now, which is lovely. Any tips for people who think they might have ADHD? So I'm going to talk through the process of how I did it, because a lot of people asked, because people think it's harder than it is. I never really bothered because I thought, oh my god, it's going to be a long process. So basically I went to my GP and said basically all my sort of symptoms and stuff, and they're like, yo, do you want to get, you know, diagnosed for ADHD? Do you want to go through that line? And I was like, yeah, fair enough. And they replied saying, fill in these forms, we'll send them off to your local nearest place that is like a ADHD specialist. Got back and it said it was a 2 years waiting list. So then I went through the right to choose with Psychiatry UK, basically sent the letter to my GP, said I want to go through these. They sent it back to the Psychiatry UK. Psychiatry UK had a 6-month waiting list, and then I did an interview with someone, and then that was it. Do you have any trouble focusing on movies and books? Books forever. Like I can never read. It's impossible, and the amount of times I want to read a book but I can't sucks. Movies is a weird one for me. Like sometimes I can be so engaged in a movie and find it easy. If I'm at the cinema, I do struggle with a movie, even though it's like a big screen. It's sort of like sitting upright and like not needing to pee, not needing to move, not being able to pause it. And watching a movie alone is the worst for me, because I end up just going on my phone or pausing it and going back to it later. Like one of my big red flags would be I get 5 minutes into a movie and press pause and go somewhere else. But luckily, like I do a lot of watch parties on Discord with my friends, and obviously having someone who's in call with me who's watching it as well, sort of like I have to focus on this with them, and we're gonna watch it now. Like there's no choice in the matter. What things are much easier now that you've got it figured out? Nothing's easier, to be honest. Like it's always gonna be difficult. I don't think things get easier as such. It's just a way of being like, right, this might take longer, right, this might happen during it. Do you struggle to sleep? I'm madly in love with you, by the way. Thank you. I do. Well, I used to. Sometimes I struggle so much to the point of where it's like 5 AM and I haven't slept yet and I just crash. I don't really like going to bed. Like, I feel sleep is boring and a waste of time. Like, why would I sleep when I could be doing this and that? Like, you just sort of go up to bed and you lay down and then you shut your eyes. It's a very weird concept to me. Like once I'm asleep, I love it, and getting out of bed in the morning is one of the hardest things ever for me. But going to sleep and initiating that, it's a boring task which I don't like doing. And getting my brain to shut off at night is the worst, because I lie in that bed and I look at the ceiling and then boom, 20 thoughts come in. How long was the process of getting diagnosed? So it took longer because I kept putting it off. Yeah, it took a lot longer because of that, but actually doing it was probably about 7 months, which is actually really good if you're going through getting diagnosed. Have you realised anything about yourself that can now be explained by ADHD? Yes, everything. Majority of things. And I don't want to repeat myself too much in this video, but a lot of things. Like the way I work as a person is a big explanation. Like definitely like through like me not really, like I do look out for people. Like I am a very people person, but at heart, like I'm not selfish, but I am like driven, sort of like solo, like in a lot of things. Like in a way, like I always just kept myself to myself, never really bothered with relationships or friendships. Like I didn't really need any of that. I was obsessed with my things around me, and I was just like, yeah, it's fine. But that sort of explains a little bit. My YouTube explains it a lot, like how I got so focused on it, the things that I've worked on. Yeah, I guess kind of just the way I grew up. A lot of the times I thought that's because I'm the youngest, or that's because of this and stuff, but now looking back, like it's so explained. You get distracted easily? Yes. I'm joking. But yeah, that is it for the Q&A. Hopefully I went a bit more into detail about a lot of things. And if there's still questions, make sure you come over to my live streams and ask me. Like, I'm open to any questions, or go in the comments down below and I'll reply to them, or hit me up on Twitter or anything. Honestly, just reach out to me. Like, I'm happy to talk about it. If you guys did enjoy this video, give it a big thumbs up for me. That would mean a lot to me. Hit that subscribe button for more videos from me. And yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you again for all the support on the last video, and thank you for like making it to the end of this one. I know it's probably a bit of a long Q&A and a lot of repetitiveness, but yeah, I love you, and I'll see you very, very soon with another video. Bye.